Hey everyone, my name is Shaman, and I am honored to be with Chef Whitney Aronoff. Chef extraordinaire, beautiful lady, incredible soul. Welcome. So great to be here for our regular spot on Thursdays. And yeah, so how you doing, Whitney?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. How was your week? I like to do catch up with
Yeah.
you right at the beginning here. So tell me what have you been doing all week?
So this was a big culinary week. So I had a full schedule of meal prepping for all of my clients. So that's where I was really focused. My clients kind of changed up some of the days that I'm cooking for them. Um, so when your schedule changes, it just kind of throws you off a little mentally. So this week, more of my clients were earlier in the week. We just shifted everyone's schedule a bit. So I'm just a bit thrown off. I cooked a lot of food. So think about for one family, I prepare five entrees with two sides. So that means at least I'm cooking 15 different items, if not more, for including sauces and salad dressings, sometimes desserts. And so compound that to multiple clients. So I probably cooked around 150 different dishes this week. So, I'm just a little, I'm just a little thrown off.
Oh my gosh! So can you, for people that don't understand what a chef like you does, can you
Yeah.
explain what kind of foods you make and what you do as a job? I think it's really interesting.
Sure. So, for instance, today I focused on creating all my client menus for the week ahead and emailing out the menus out to them so they could then turn around and choose the entrees that they want. So I can start to put together my grocery shopping list and finalize their menus so I can get started. But let me tell you a little bit about like the dishes that I make for my clients. So
Yeah.
for a client, I put together their menu, they confirm it. I go grocery shopping for them, pick up all the groceries, go to their home. I prepare all the food in their house. If they're home for lunch, then I serve them lunch. And then I prep their dinner for that evening and then a bunch of their meals for the week. So, what that dinner and some of the meals can look like would be baked halibut with sauteed spinach and garlic bread. It could be ahi tuni ceviche and lettuce wraps with some short grain brown rice and a cucumber salad. It could be rosemary and garlic marinated and grilled lamb chops with classic or health supportive mashed potatoes and some grilled broccolini. I could do a whole wheat pesto pasta salad with chicken or a gluten free pasta salad with a ton of vegetables, grilled hanger steaks, asparagus, crispy roasted potatoes, a gluten free baked chicken parmesan with wilted spinach or chard added in, Starseed Kitchen crispy baked chicken thighs with 11 magic herbs and spices and a variety of vegetables on the side, maybe like a little kale coleslaw. So that's a little bit about what I do for my clients. And then a lot of my clients love more healthy desserts. That's really one of my specialties, or like a specialty breakfast. So, one of my clients that I'm cooking for on Monday just messaged me that you know, they wanted some kind of indulgent baked good desserts for next week, but like make them a little healthy. So used more health supportive sugars like maple syrup, maple crystals, date sugar, coconut sugar. Use alternative flours, gluten free flours, whole wheat flours, paleo flours. So, some of the suggestions that I sent over to them were paleo blueberry lemon scones, a gluten free zucchini bread, whole grain maple oat nut scones with maple frosting,
Oh my god.
cornmeal, yeah, cornmeal pancakes with cherrywood bacon, real buttermilk waffles, and then whole wheat sticky buns with walnuts. So
Woo!
the whole wheat sticky buns, with no refined sugar, all using maple crystals and maple sugar and organic whole wheat flour. They're incredible. I've made them with spelt flour before. Yeah, so That's a long-winded version of what I do. And I try to give 110% to every client that I cook for. And when I'm in that client's home, I'm fully focused on them. And a lot of times when you're in your clients' homes, you're not just alone. They're there too. So it's all about connecting with them and supporting them. And, as a chef, you often become, a therapist and a friend and a support system, and a sounding board. So being a personal chef, you wear many hats, so to say.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
As you know, as a shaman, like people come to you for multiple reasons. Do you maybe want to share all the different reasons why people come to you?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Why do people want to see a shaman? Um, wow, let me count the ways. So usually it has to do with an issue uh, with one of their bodies, so one of the four bodies. So it's either a physical issue, a mental issue, an emotional issue, or a spiritual issue. So examples of a physical issue would be maybe an autoimmune disease or cancer or a lifelong injury, or maybe they're just they're having a difficult time figuring out, what foods they want to eat, or even just healthy lifestyle changes when it comes to the physical body, lack of exercise, motivation, that type of thing. And then when it comes to the mental, which is just thoughts without emotion, so it's structure wise, different types of ways of thinking, modalities of thinking, compartmentalizing, that kind of thing, and learning how to live in that body when you're getting too emotional and all that kind of thing. And then, of course, emotional body when people are dealing with trauma and people are dealing with relationship issues where they're not getting along with their boss or their coworkers or or their family members or their spouse, their children, that kind of thing. And learning how to deal with loss. A family member died, or they had a breakup, or they had a really big thing happen in their past with a family member that maybe was a travesty. Like maybe their family member was murdered, maybe they died in a car crash, and the whole family is still recovering, that type of thing. And then the spiritual body, it's either they want to be more connected and they don't know how. They want me to do it for them because, they want to be serviced, or they want to learn what their gifts are spiritually, or they feel like they're possessed, haunted, that they have something attached to them, that, something is wrong spiritually and, they don't know what to do. They feel like they're cursed, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of different reasons why people will come to see somebody like me. So, it's really, you get to be a jack of all trades. So like you, I get to learn how to become family with everybody and give a really personalized experience, and give them a safe space to be able to not just share about who they are or what's been happening, but also to heal. Because if they don't feel safe to heal, then it's almost impossible to get anywhere with them. And there's a lot of different types of people in this world, so you really get to learn how to deal with all of those personality types in a way that makes sense. So I guess that's kind of it, generally speaking. What do you think?
Why does someone choose to go to you, maybe to deal with family issues or coworker issues or just general blocks that they have in life? Why would someone want to go to you versus going to a traditional therapist or
Okay, no, that's a good
such?
question. And
Yeah.
usually it's when either a therapy has failed for them, for some reason, traditional therapy has failed for them, because it's not for everyone. They just don't feel like it's. And I see a lot of therapists, and I see a lot of,
Oh, fascinating.
yeah, I see therapists, I see psychologists and psychiatrists, and it's because I deal with it in a different way. I come at it from a backdoor perspective as opposed to uh, using a specific regimen that they've been taught in school to get from point A to point B. I've often had therapists tell me that they like my approach because I'm able to get to the nut of the issue quickly, and then just expose it, and it's a surprise, so that, and when it's a surprise to them, it's easier for them to acknowledge and deal with it quickly, especially if, as a therapist, they already kind of understand how to get into an issue and out. It kind of makes, the feedback that I got is it kind of makes them blind to how to do it themselves, because they've already realized a system on how to do it. And if they're hiding from their own problems, it makes it even harder for them to get to the root. So, but for people who have tried therapy, they want something alternative, or they feel like they want a spiritual approach to things, and they want to have all the 4 bodies worked on, then they'll come to someone like me, especially if everything else has failed. So I'm often the last ditch effort to try to heal something.
Why do you think that when clients come to you, they really can't get anything by you? And I've noticed that as a friend, and which is what I love, because I love friends that call me out, that don't allow me to dance around issues, that help me resolve things as quickly as possible so we can keep moving on with life. You do an incredible job with that. What do you think it is that allows you to get to
Pinpoint
that
an
root
issue?
quickly?
That's a really good question. I would say part of being able to get to the root of issues isn't just about emotional intelligence, as an example, and understanding, your spiritual aspect, the highest resonating body, the most intelligent part of yourself. It's also about, it's also about experience, learning how to listen to people. It's about knowing yourself and healing yourself, and knowing all the ways that you've tricked yourself into certain things. There's a lot of different reasons, I think, why, but as a shaman, you see things from not just a perspective of psychology. You're going to see it from the angle of all the bodies. So you're going to look at it from the emotional perspective, the mental, the spiritual, the physical. You're going to add and subtract, and kind of go around the back door. You're going to go behind the veil, so to speak, and you're going to take a look. But your intuition gets to be really sharp. So sometimes it, just energetically, you'll see something with someone, and you'll be able to put the pieces together very quickly, and to be able just to call out the problem on the spot, even if you don't even exchange any words with the person. So that's part of the reason why developing all the bodies, including the spiritual body, is so important, not just to understand yourself, but in the realm of being able to communicate really effectively with people. And so if I wasn't able to do that, then I should never be in the position of being able to support people in the first place. So I'm happy that it's obvious and prevalent. I think this is the first time you gave me that feedback. I appreciate it. It's good to know. I always felt it, but it's nice to hear it from another person and to hear that perspective. So thank you for that.
Do you have any tips tonight for anyone that's listening that wants to strengthen their ability to hear each one of their 4 bodies? Anything that they can start doing at home to strengthen that connection?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's so with the physical body, it just depends on what your goals are. So if you're wanting to strengthen the connection with your highest self and to really begin to become an intuitive dynamo, then the key truly is purification. And so you get to go into begin the purification of your physical body first, all of the bodies, but let's just start with the physical. So it would be about the foods you eat, just keeping it really clean and healthy, taking the chemicals out, what you put on the body, how you move the body, the type of water you're putting in the body. They all get to be pure. Because the idea is the more pure that you get with all of the bodies and cleaning out all the garbage, the easier you're going to be able to communicate with that highest resonating part of yourself. And so all of these things are going to be in the way if you don't clear it out. And so at the densest part of creation, in the physical, it'll be massive obstacles if you don't clear those out first. So all of the things that I said, And then we're going into the mental and the emotional. It's really about cleaning up thought processes with the mental, and it's about emotionally handling your scandal and really getting in there and, taking care of yourself and listening to yourself and loving yourself through the process, and not stuffing your emotions, but working through everything so that you're honoring yourself and your feelings, and clearing out everything that shouldn't be there, becoming more authentic, really uh, listening to your higher self is really like becoming a higher version of yourself, so stretching into that every day emotionally and mentally, and then the spiritually, of course, is actually having a spiritual practice and understanding, and this came up today with a client, is understanding that even if you are meditating, does it mean the meditation you're doing is going to be of the highest benefit to you now? Because some people will do one type of meditation for their entire lives and say, I'm really good at it. I've been doing it for however many years, and I'm really great at meditating. Yeah, but there are so many different types of meditations. There are so many different types of skills that you should be adding to your meditation. And you must have an agenda with your meditation. It shouldn't just be one thing, like I'm just going to clear my mind and feel that peace and space. Well, what about if you want to start healing your chakra system? What about if you want to start recalibrating your mental state into something more effective? What about, if you want to maintain and achieve ultimate physical health? There's so many different things you could be focusing on. And what if you want to be more psychic? What if you want to, jump out of your body and fly around and see Paris or something like that? There's things that you can learn how to do through meditation, but a lot of people don't. And it's just so it's never think that you've arrived. Basically, bottom line, never think that you've arrived, because the moment that you think you've arrived, you've lost. There's always ways to expand your consciousness and grow and learn. And especially, don't ever get stuck on one tool spiritually and only do that and think that, hey, I have a spiritual practice, because as you grow, you get to keep changing your tools so that you continue to expand. Once you get comfortable with it, it's not good enough.
I completely agree. And that's like the joy of living, is there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to explore. Like we should never get bored.
We should never get bored. Yeah, absolutely. So we get to keep expanding. We get to keep
Yeah.
growing. So, you had a podcast, and you had talked about something about, was it feng shui? I really want to hear about what you guys talked about, because it sounded really interesting to me when you mentioned it in passing.
We had a great podcast episode this week that made me think of you. So, I'm host of the High Vibration Living podcast. You can find it everywhere you listen to your podcast: Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And this week, I interviewed Dana Claudette. And Dana is often known online, if you are on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. She's known as the Tao of Dana, and it's spelled Tao, like Tao, but pronounced the Tao of Dana. And she's a feng shui master. She's been working and practicing feng shui for about 19 years. And I had her on because this week is Valentine's Day week. I had her on to discuss, attracting more love in your life and how you can use feng shui to attract more love. And what it really came down to is a practice that you really discuss, whether you're referring to your home or to your car or to your office, that your home is essentially a reflection of you and your consciousness. And so, in order to attract what you want in your life, your home needs to represent the life you want to live. And if it's cluttered with things you don't want or that don't represent you, or if it's a space that doesn't make you happy, or it's a space that you talk negatively about, that's just like doing all that to your body or to your car. And so you can't then expect to attract all these things that you want if you don't think positively about you or your space or your office or your business or your car. And so what we talked about was the importance of identifying the three things that you really want in life, and then working on having your home reflect those three things that you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So different rooms in the home represent different things spiritually, and I'm wondering if it's the same theory in feng shui. Maybe you could, did you talk about that, or can you
You know
extrapolate?
what? We didn't even get into those details. We focused on the bigger picture and more simple, practical steps that people can start doing now to make changes without having to go that deep. But absolutely, I've heard about that um, many, many times. The different rooms, but also the position that the house faces, and as well as the feng shui map. All right, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the feng shui map. I think health is in the middle, and then it's basically one, two, three. It's the 9 blocks. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the 9 blocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I love that. I think so. I'm still working on a vision board. Yes, it's February, but it's still coming together. And what I'm going to be doing with my vision board is I'm actually going to take everything off that I've put on so far, and I'm going to have the vision board reflect the feng shui key card. And so everything that I want to manifest about my health, I'll put in the middle where the health block is. And same with each corner, love, business, abundance, etc. I'm going to have my vision board reflect that key card, that block.
very good. I like that a lot. So,
Why
and,
not?
yeah, no, absolutely. So I'd actually like to add to that a little bit, because
Yeah.
people might not understand what different rooms might represent in the psyche and spiritually as well of your home. So when it comes to your bathroom, it's the place where you're keeping yourself clean, and it's the place where, you know, you're kind of cleansing and purifying yourself in a kind of unconscious way. And so the state of your bathroom in your house is very telling about psychologically where you're at. So if it's
Really?
yes, so if it's dirty on your countertops, then what is that symbolism saying about where you're at mentally?
This makes me so happy because my bathrooms are the cleanest spot in my house. Always.
Yay!
Always. That's the number one place I focus on keeping clean and tidy and organized.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, that's really cool, and it's very
Interesting.
important. Yeah. So if the bathtub is dirty, if the place in your mind is the place that you're trying to keep yourself clean is actually dirty and needs to be cleaned as well. I mean, there's a psychology behind that, so you really get to examine that. And it's not just that, but it's just, if there's different messes in your house that's always messy,
Yes.
why? So if your kitchen sink is always filled with dishes, and how you're nourishing yourself with food, what you're doing with that nourishment after the fact is always dirty. What is that saying about you psychologically? If you're not willing to keep that part of the place, the kitchen as an example, where you're nourishing yourself, if you're not willing to keep that clean, and it's chaos in there, what is that saying about you psychologically and how you feel about yourself? Right? So it's that kind of thing.
So I'll tell you
Go ahead.
my messiest space, and you've seen it. My messiest space is my desk because I have all my different projects, because I have all my different businesses, and I never seem to find the time to complete all of it.
Right.
And that's the number one thing I want to work on. So
what is
what
that
is
saying?
that saying?
It's the deepest recesses of your mind, the place where you're really creating from, the origin point. And honestly, having a messy desk is a sign of a genius. So hate to break it to you. It's just the way, especially if it's an organized mess. I mean, if you
It
really
is.
explore all the
Everything's
places, yeah.
everything's in its perfect pile, and like everything, each pile is organized to a completely different project.
Yeah, no, and that's a sign of a really smart person, actually. So
Oh, well, thank you. Well, here's hoping. Here's
yeah.
hoping.
Well, I know you and I have a lot on our plates as far as what we're creating, so it's having that kind of mess is totally acceptable. But anyway,
Yeah,
so
one of my piles are different recipes that I've been making for a long time to support my next ebook. Thanks to you, I was able to launch my first ebook. You pushed me to do that, and I'm so grateful. But I'm ready to do a health supportive dessert ebook
oh
with
good.
all my secret recipes. I know you love my chocolate. You have to figure out what to call it. It's like a chocolate fudge. It's chocolate fudge icing, but it's almost like that chocolate fudge. Um, you just need a few bites. But I'm going to put all those incredible recipes in an ebook so people can start to make more health supportive desserts at home that are free of refined sugars, refined ingredients. Um, so that's part of the to-do list over here.
That's pretty exciting. So, as far as that dessert you were just talking about, maybe what is the recipe for that? Just because I know it was pretty simple ingredients, but it might be something that people could try at home.
Yeah, well, I can't share the recipe yet. It will be in the ebook. But basically, I make this incredible chocolate frosting that I put on my vegan cakes for my clients. And it's real maple syrup, nut butter of choice. So sometimes I use peanut butter, sometimes I use cashew butter, sometimes I use almond butter, and then vanilla extract and raw cacao powder. And
Yeah.
that's the base for this incredible frosting that I put on desserts. And the great thing is, you can put it into small containers and it almost becomes like fudge, where you just need a few bites. Or I like to reference it as, like, in the 90s, it was really popular for us to go and buy those tubs of pre made frosting at the grocery store. And you would just take a few bites and share it with your friend. So this is very, very similar. It's just so incredibly good. I obviously love sharing it with you. Um, and I look forward to sharing it with more people.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it really is really good. I really
Yeah, don't you just want like a little tub of it? And then you can just go into the fridge, grab a few bites whenever you need to. The next thing I need to work on is creating the vanilla version of that frosting, because for me, the frosting that I always liked buying in the 90s, the Betty Crocker frosting, was vanilla. I wasn't into chocolate frosting. What is your preference, chocolate or vanilla?
whew, it was always chocolate for me. There's something
Really?
about chocolate. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love vanilla for what it is, but chocolate, you can't beat that. I mean, you
So
can,
if someone was to make you like homemade ice cream, like a homemade, high quality, incredible ingredients, raw milk, maybe sweetened with honey, would you go for the chocolate ice cream or the vanilla ice cream?
now that is a little different because I might go for the vanilla there because we're already talking about really pure ingredients, and I think that I
Yeah.
almost would want to enjoy the pureness of
Oh,
vanilla if it's
beautiful.
being homespun, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So my ice cream, when I make ice cream, if anyone is thinking, it's not possible to make, from scratch health supportive ice cream, I use raw milk, raw cream, obviously both organic. I use vanilla extract or vanilla bean. I use local honey. And that is the base, the foundation to my ice cream. And then you add on from there as you like. But I always like the vanilla the best.
I can't. Could you remind me where you went to school to learn what you did? Because I just remember it was a really great school. Don't remember the name. Would love to hear about it, just so people know
Yeah.
where your education came from.
So I went to the Natural Gourmet Institute in New York City. It was founded in 1970 by Dr. Anne Marie Colbin, and the school has since been incorporated by another culinary school called ICE. Um, ICE, which is the Institute of Culinary Education, also in New York City. So you can look up the Institute of Culinary Education, ICE, and then under their programs, you can find the Natural Gourmet Institute program if you want a more health supportive culinary experience, meaning you're going to be working with in season ingredients. Most things are going to be organic. There's going to be no refined sugar, refined white flour, refined white sugar. It's going to be just an elevated experience. And you're also going to really focus on healing with food. So you're going to learn about kind of traditions in a variety of culture and how you can support people, at different phases of their life or with different health issues. So it's an incredible program. I felt like it was life finishing school. If you're ever in a transition in what you want to do with your life, or if anyone that's watching is, going to be graduated from high school, not sure where they want to go to college, if they want to go to college, and vice versa, if you're about to graduate from college but not ready to go, into a career, culinary schools is a great in between. It's a great place to do some soul searching, but also, more importantly, you learn how to nourish yourself. And there's nothing more valuable than that, than figuring out how to feed and fuel yourself, because you can't expect other people to know what you need if you don't know what you need yourself.
Right. Exactly.
Unless maybe, that person in your life is a shaman. They might be able to figure out what you need.
Yeah.
But not everyone's mom and dad or sister and brother is a shaman. So, you gotta figure it out.
There's a lot of people that will call themselves shamans and they're not. It's, there's and there's a lot of different types of shamans in the world, and there is that's a huge topic that I'm definitely not going to get into. That is its own show, and we can go into all of that at another time, but but there's definitely people who will say that they're something and they're not, so be careful of those people. And there's a lot of pseudo shamans or even healers, and a lot of psychics that think they're healers and they're not. They just want to take your money, that kind of thing. So all kinds of stuff, but that is its own show. That is its own show.
That also has to do with discernment, and it's the same in my case. As a chef, I felt it was really important to go and get the training and the education before I put myself out there with a food blog, with a podcast, with doing cooking videos on YouTube and social media. I felt like I needed to have the education and knowledge, and then I needed to have the experience. I needed to go and cook for multiple people and cook in restaurants, get that life experience before I had anything to share. And you're going to find out there a lot of people that really don't have any experience, education, or training telling you how to do things. And you have to listen to your gut and use some discernment and find the right teachers for you.
Absolutely. And, I might not be the right teacher for everyone. And I definitely would never think that. You really get to just find somebody that resonates with you, and someone that you can grow with, and someone that walks the walk. They do what they teach, as opposed to, I'm telling you not to smoke, but I smoke every Sunday, but I'm telling you not to, and you should never do it. I mean, don't go with somebody like that. It doesn't make any sense. Stay sober, and they're getting drunk every night. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not logical. But also, and I think we've said this on multiple occasions, when looking for practitioners, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what they do. They're only going to be as good as their consciousness. And that includes being a chef. That includes being a shaman. That includes, a dentist or your doctor or your chiropractor, or, if their consciousness isn't there, chances are their work isn't very good either. So consciousness is truly everything, which is why I'm so passionate about it, which is why I spend so much time teaching it, which is why I, push out all these videos, because I really want to support people as much as they can in elevating their consciousness so that they can be better versions of themselves. I'm really, really passionate about that. I spend a lot of time doing it, and it's not about, like, I don't make any money doing these videos. I'm doing it out of out of love, or, at one point, if I monetize, okay, but I'm not right now. I'm not monetized at all. I push out the videos right now because I love people and I love consciousness. So it's so important. So when you look for people to work with in any capacity, they're only going to be as good as their consciousness. Psychics, please don't follow a psychic where their consciousness isn't there. Please don't. And anyone else in the community of spirituality, their consciousness absolutely gets to be there. But moving on from that, I wanted to bring up, because we like to bring up things that we dealt with during the week with our clients, and one of the things that I dealt with today was, and I had, there was quite a bit of backlash here, because this is a subject that people don't really understand, is that there is no good or bad in the world. People have this tendency to, they don't understand what that means. They think, of course there's good and of course there's bad, but it's not really possible for that to exist. It's a judgment that people place upon information. And I wanted to, before I even open the floor on that subject, I kind of wanted to hear what you thought about it and what your viewpoint is on even that theory alone, because I'd like to hear what you have to say before I even get into it.
That's so interesting. So I think everyone's playing their role. So I think if somebody identifies something as evil or bad or negative or down spiral, I think the person that's in that role is playing their role, the role that they came into this world to be, the level of consciousness that they're at. If they're following what we consider a negative agenda, I think they're following maybe their soul's purpose. It's not for me. I don't want to participate in that. So I choose not to participate in that because I am going in a different direction. My soul's purpose or what I've chosen that brings me happiness is cooking and food and wellness and health and spirituality and nature and learning and growing my soul in that way, and then teaching what I learn. Like that's what supports me, and so that's what I'm focusing on.
Right, exactly. So what you're partially at least saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that you're understanding that if somebody else is on a different journey from you, you're not going to judge what they're creating because it's their journey, and you're recognizing that what they're creating is their world and not a part of yours, so you're not going to judge it and take it personally.
No, because I'm just going to choose not to participate, because it's, it doesn't mean that I don't experience people throughout my day or have experience where I find someone as evil, negative, or an experience or a thought or something on the news. I may see it that way for a minute, but I just choose not to participate in it. And I'm not going to waste my time judging it or analyzing it because,
Sure.
I guess my way of looking at it is I know what my name's on.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
I know who I am, what my goals and dreams are, where my energy is worth going, and I know what my focus is on what I'm supposed to support while I'm here on this planet or in this plane. And my name's not on fixing stuff that maybe somebody labels as negative or low vibration or evil. Like I know what my job is to focus on, and I go in that direction.
Absolutely. So what about when people will put meanings on things that don't necessarily need meanings? And what I mean by that is when it comes to money, when it comes to sex, when it comes to what clothes that you're wearing, what kind of car that you're driving. So people, what I'm getting at here is that people have this tendency to put a bunch of meanings on those types of things when no meaning needs to be there at all.
Well, I think all that stuff's just a fun toy.
Right. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but some people, when it comes to the car they're driving, it's everything, right?
Oh, to me, those are just, they're fun toys. They're tools that you can experience in this lifetime, but it no means represents who you are and your soul value.
Right.
You get to pick the tools and toys you want to play with.
Mhm.
And if something seems fun to you, or you feel like is, an extent, or you want that to be an extension of you, go, and it doesn't hurt anyone, go for it. But it shouldn't rule your world. Does that make sense? So I see, you know, jewelry, watches, luxury items, cars, homes, all that as just fun toys for experiencing life, for having this human experience. And pick and choose the ones that you want to play with.
Right, right. As opposed to making it into something where, if you don't have that, then you're not worthy of love. If you don't,
Yes.
if you don't have that specific outfit, haircut, piece of jewelry, a car, or anything like that, or amount of money, that you're not worthy of love, that you're not worthy of having friends, that you're not worthy of, it's because all of these things are judgments, and it's a bunch of information that people put on different types of things that really have no inherent meaning. So truly, everything just has the meaning that you want to give it in this life. So if you want to choose for things to have a negative connotation that impact you in a negative way, then you're going to create problems for yourself. So if you're going to
Yeah.
decide that if you don't have a specific kind of job, that it doesn't have the right status for you, it doesn't, it's like, let's say you work at McDonald's. Great, but I think that's great. You have a job and you're making money, and that's fantastic. But what if you're the type of person that if you don't have a job working something that's prestigious, that it's going to crush you? Then you put a meaning on something where there doesn't need to be a meaning. Truly. Because when it comes to emotional intelligence, you should be able to be happy doing anything in life and just finding the joy in everything that you're doing. But if you're only going to allow yourself to experience joy if you have a certain status with what you're doing, then that's a real problem, because, life doesn't really work that way. So,
Well, your soul has to be fulfilled, and you
yeah,
have to be fulfilled with the work that you're doing every day. And only you can figure out what that is. And if it doesn't resonate, like, recognize that and then make the change. Don't sit there and be angry about it and be the victim. You have to make the change, and it's not easy. And you can pout along the way if that will make you feel better. That's no problem. We've all been there. But you you have to do the work to get where you want to be, you know
absolutely.
and
And
hey, I hope there's an easier way. I hope everyone gets an easier path than I have, to finding jobs and experiences that are rewarding and resonate with them. It doesn't have to be hard. So I don't want anyone to think that it has to be hard in order for it to be the right way. Like, my dream is that everyone's road is paved with gold and it flows with ease and grace. I pray that my days flow with more ease and grace, but you have to take action.
absolutely. And it's interesting. It's an interesting segue into just, being able to give people feedback in a way that'll help improve their lives. And if you're coming from a place of love, and it's one of those things where they expect you to give feedback. So in my job, I get to give feedback to people all the time, and it gets to be delivered in a way that's going to be catered to their own personality and their own insecurities and everything. But let's say the person is so sensitive that any kind of feedback at all feels like no, you're abusing me, this hurts, why are you harming me, kind of thing. If you're at a point in your life where you can't handle any feedback, that is a serious, serious problem. You're never going to be able to grow that way. You're never going to be able to expand your consciousness. And you don't have to take the information as something that's abuse. That is something that you'd be choosing to take on. Why not take it on with the outlook of, if there's anything out there that would make me into a better person, then I'm going to take it on with joy. So instead of saying, "Hey, I was rude today," and then feeling shame for that, why feel shame? Why not feel joy that you realized it, so you can do something about it and never do it again? Because if you continue to ignore your behaviors, it's just going to go down the tubes for you. So that was part of what came up for me today with the people that I was working with. Does that make sense?
Yes, we'll just keep being honest. You know, we all have days where it's hard for us to accept the truth, but usually I feel like we get angry when we get feedback from people because sometimes it is true, or it's really not our issue, it's their issue, and we get angry because they're projecting and
Yeah.
not dealing with their own laziness or shit or whatever it is.
Oh, absolutely. And it's hard to say because it just depends on where it's coming from too. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of clients that have a hard time with getting feedback from their boss. They're terrified, and part of the reason why they're terrified of it is because they've made their boss into their parent. And when they used to get feedback from their parents, it was always crushing, and that makes a lot of sense. So if you're one of these people, then you really get to look at that dynamic and why you're recreating it into someone who is not your parent. It's an opportunity for you to heal it. That's why you're creating it in that scenario. It's an opportunity to walk in there and say, "Hey, this isn't going to bother me. I love myself. This is, if they're giving me feedback, it doesn't even mean they're right. They might be just projecting onto me something that's painful for them." And so it's, you really get to look at it in a different way. You get to step back and see it for what it is, and that's part of growth, and that's part of life. So
Yeah, any other tips that we can take away so we get better at hearing feedback from people?
sure, I mean, I would just be, the best thing that I can say, I think, in that department would be to get excited about getting feedback and don't see it as people trying to hurt you. Because depending on what the source is, if the person that is giving you the feedback is giving it out of complete love because they want to see you break free and liberate yourself from everything that's painful, and you know this about this person, I know that feedback can hurt. I get that, especially if you have all of these hang-ups about it and you haven't dealt with it, and it's still very much a part of you, and you just haven't healed it. So get excited about feedback instead. Choose to get excited. Choose to see it as an opportunity for you to get rid of that thing that's been inside of you for a long time, that's been holding you back. And just like, this is great. Now I don't ever have to deal with it again. I never have to live with it again. If I face it head on and I actually go through it once intentionally, that might be all it would take. And then you never have to live with it again. You never have to listen to feedback again where it's going to hurt you. If you decide to take the bull by the horns and say, yes, this is something that I actually want to understand about myself, so I never have to feel it again. Think of it, everything as an opportunity for, hey, I get to liberate myself from this. I don't want to feel pain anymore, so let's go through it once intentionally. That would be the best. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I think that's the best tactic, but everyone's going to have their own tactics depending on their personality.
What would you do in situations where you're getting feedback that really isn't supportive? Really, if you were to take an advice, it would affect your life in a negative way, or really it's coming because they're threatened. So I'll give you some examples from feedback that I've gotten in my past corporate careers that, in hindsight, because it's been 10, 15, 20 years, it did not serve me. So one of them was, I used to get dressed up to go to work every day. I'd wear a nice, really put together suit, nothing outlandish, just a really nice black suit, nice simple heels, came to the office, freshly showered, curled hair, clean makeup. And I was pulled aside by someone in HR who knew me well. And she said that I looked too professional and I looked like management. And my management was therefore threatened by me because I was appearing like management to other people in the office. And because I wasn't currently management, I needed to dress down and look like other people in my positions. And I was just too put together for where I was in my career. Kind of the exact opposite that we all hear. Like you dress the part for the job you want. I was being told, well, I look like the job I want. And so therefore people in those positions are threatened by me. So, you know,
Right.
dress
Right.
down.
Well, and before,
And
go ahead.
no, it ended up, in hindsight, it ended up not serving me. I followed their directions and started dressing down, and it affected my confidence in myself, and it affected the way other people treated me in a negative way. Um, and it wasn't good advice in hindsight. I should have just ignored her and just continued on my way as I was.
So what
So
was
how do you suggest somebody discerns the feedback that they're getting?
okay? So in that case, I just have a couple questions. Do you feel as though this woman was jealous of you?
It wasn't her, it was the people that were telling her to tell this to her. Does that
I,
make sense? So
yes,
my boss was jealous of me, and she told this person
to
to have
mitigate the
this
problem.
conversation with me.
So let me get this straight. Your boss didn't even have the guts to tell you to do it herself. She got someone else to do it because she was a coward and a jealous coward to boot.
And I noticed over the course of working for her for 2 years, she would continuously find other people in the office to do her dirty work. And by the time I ended up leaving that group that I was working for, everyone revealed the truth to me about how the boss was making up stories about me, trying to get people not to like me, trying it all revealed itself to how jealous this boss was of me.
Right. Well, and you know that we all deal with those types of really insecure people where they don't want you to shine because they feel like your light will be too bright and it'll outshine them. So that's just a really deep insecurity, and it sounds like it would have been obvious, from the get go that insecurity was driving the ship here, and that feedback had no real value other than a demonstration of this person and where they're at psychologically and emotionally. So,
I just wanted to bring this up because, in case anyone's listening to our conversation, I don't want them to think that they have to believe all the feedback that they get.
oh,
That
absolutely.
sometimes, yeah, that sometimes people are going to give you feedback and you have to not let it permeate, and you have to just let it flow over you and just realize that you need to move on from whoever you're getting this feedback on, that this isn't a supportive place, and to keep moving, because I feel so bad for my little 22-year-old self who heard that feedback, knew it wasn't right, but then ended up just accepting it because maybe I really was in the wrong.
Right. Well, and then
And
that brings us back to when we were talking about before about it depends on the consciousness, right? So if the person's consciousness that's delivering that feedback isn't very high, chances are that feedback is going to reflect that. So it's most people, the majority of people, I would say 99% of people do not know how to give feedback that isn't a reflection of their own consciousness. It's just so they're mostly just talking about themselves all day long. So anything they would notice in you, and if they don't like something in you and they're giving you that type of feedback, chances are it's because they don't like it in themselves, or they don't like it based on something that they experienced, but it really has nothing to do with you. So most of the time, almost all of the time, it's really people giving feedback is just a reflection of themselves, and people are just talking about themselves all day long. So you can't take it personally. How can you? I mean, it's not even really about you. It's about their bubble. It's about their world. It's about what they created in their lives. So, I mean, how could you? If it reflects upon you and you feel it, if you're feeling a reaction, that's based on your bubble, that's based on your experiences, that's based on all of your issues, but it doesn't have anything to do with them. It's like two bubbles in the same room with each other, not touching each other, but just reflecting back and forth information that is completely contained within each bubble. It's really kind of funny. Does that make sense? Yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope this is supportive for anyone who's listening.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's like, if you're wanting quality feedback from someone to support you in your life so that you can shift into something that's more valuable or more effective, then you get to really look at the source, consider the source. Is it going to be valuable to you based upon their life experiences, who they are, what their agenda is? It's, you got to look at a bunch of different factors here, and really discern whether or not you should even accept the feedback to begin with, because a lot of the time it's really not going to be valuable to you because it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with somebody else's insecurity, somebody else's problems or issues, somebody else's BS, basically. But if you're going to someone that's trained, or someone that, where their consciousness has evolved, and that in the situation, all they're going to be doing is looking at you and providing the best possible feedback to support you in your journey, it's a totally different story. And if you trust this person and you feel like they have good insight, and if it hits in a certain way, and okay, well, this person is delivering this out of love, then, it might still rub you, of course, because it's feedback and it's about growth. And a lot of the time growth hurts, but that doesn't change the fact that it's valuable. You get to have the courage to look at things and to move through things. So don't necessarily think that that person is full of crap just because it hurts you or because it rubs you. So there gets to be a balancing act here. You get to figure that out.
Thank you. Great advice.
Yeah. Well, yes, I guess, for someone that gives advice for a living, I guess, in my experience, it's a tricky game, because not everyone is going to be able to take the advice, and you get to really weigh what kind of advice you give depending on the person. I mean, I've had people come through my office that have been very, very angry people. They don't want to be taught anything. They just want their lives to be fixed, and they don't want to change a single thing about their lives. And how can you help those people? There's nothing you can do, right?
Well, you're supposed to wave your magic wand and just fix everything.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And that's what people sometimes expect. But I have to say that the majority of the time, my clients are incredible people. They are they're just really good people, really good professional people. They just want support in elevating in business, in life, in their spirit, and they're really solidly good people. I've been very blessed with a fantastic client base, and I absolutely adore them. My community is amazing, and I couldn't ask for. I'm just so blessed in that way. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. It's the people that are and it's rare that maybe come through and aren't that great. They're only people that I might see once. But there are people that I've only seen once that have been so amazing, and then they reach out years later and say, "I love you. I still think about you. Can I see you?" I mean, I'm just, it's such a wonderful blessing to have this type of vocation. So, but yeah, I deal with a lot of different corners, and it's nice to be able to talk about them. And I hope that in some way that it's supportive for people who are listening, so that they can take the information and maybe apply it to their own lives and, do something positive with it and become more effective and more free than they did before. So that's all I can hope for. So there you go.
Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you tonight, and I hope this was of value to everyone who listened. So, everyone who tuned in live or is watching this on replay, we would love for you to leave comments on what you enjoyed, what we talked about that sparked interest, and the type of topics that you would love to see us cover that relate to a chef and a shaman. That's what we're here for. We want to help support you guys, answer your questions, bring up conversations that you're curious to explore.
Absolutely. And, you know, and if you think about the mix of a chef and a shaman, I know that it might sound like a very opposing mix, but in a lot of ways it dovetails together quite nicely. So, you know, especially if you're a health supportive chef, we both have health in mind. Whitney is definitely coming at it from an angle of, well, she's a very spiritual person and very well versed, obviously, but it's also that she's coming at it from a very highly educated angle of, you know, what kinds of foods and nutrients can we add to the picture to increase the capacity for your spiritual journey and expansion. And
Yes.
it's a fascinating angle to come at, but it's so important, and she knows it and I know it, which is part of the reason why we're such good friends and we love each other and we love talking to each other and why we're here. So hopefully you all can understand or appreciate that as well. And yes, please, absolutely, we'd love to hear questions. I'd love to answer a whole slew of questions, so send them in, leave a comment below, and let us know if there's any burning questions that you might have so we can support you. We love supporting people and we love you. So thank you for watching. And for those of you that are watching the recording, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video. And we hope to talk to you soon. Bye, everybody. Love you.
Good night.
We're so grateful for you. Bye-bye.